what was also interesting is that like sort of the follow on from that, after that video went boom, then all the videos on the channel. I mean, like the total amount of views lift that we got was actually around like 1.5 million.
Even
total.
the shorts that previously hadn't really gotten any views, suddenly they get 10 or 20,000 extra views.
Butterscotch shenanigans.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 581 of Coffee with Butterscotch, the weekly podcast for indie game developers. I'm Seth and I'm the games programmer.
I'm Adam, the web developer.
I'm Sam, I'm the TDS.
And we are Butterscotch Shenanigans. Today is July 10th, 2020. Quick. All right, we got to really get into this today because we have a lot of ground to cover. What we wanted to do is the launch of How Many Dudes is coming up in under 3 weeks from the time that we are recording this. So
20 days.
we're kind of on a podcast sprint to cover all the ground that we want to cover before the launch. So today, what we want to do is basically do a retrospective of the entire development timeline of How Many Dudes and talk through what happened and when, how many wish lists we had, what our marketing decisions were, why we did what we did, stuff that worked, stuff that didn't work, and throw a lot of numbers and stats out there. But we got to go quick because
there's a lot of it.
there's a lot.
So
a lot happened in 10 months.
So you could treat this as if you're also launching games, if you want to, this is a good reference thing to be like, at least here's one case study of what this looked like with all the details along the way.
Yeah. And we'll
so you might need to
probably
pause as we're going through it to be like, hold on a second, let me think about that number.
Yeah.
How it compares to my numbers, you know? Yeah.
And we will probably release like a text form of something like this at some point, but for now it'll just be this is what we got. So we'll be doing that as well as hopefully a kind of a recap of some stats about just like a snapshot of where the game is now as we're approaching the launch. So that'll be today's episode, and then next week for next episode we want to just take listener questions and just do whatever questions you have about How Many Dudes, the development cycle, why we did
Launching
what we did.
games. Basically stuff around this content, right?
Yeah.
And I think we'll also start that episode with any updates to the numbers that are interesting if anything has happened in the week.
So if you have questions, then drop them in the comments of the YouTube video for this episode, or you can go to podcast.bscotch.net and you can ask questions there. That does require you to set up a Rumpus account, which is our web backend. So if you don't do that, you can just leave a comment on the YouTube video. And then the final episode before launch will be the one after that, and that'll be kind of like a pre-launch, just kind of a recap sort of a thing.
Because hopefully some things will have happened by then. That'll be a few days after the embargo lifts.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed.
So we're gonna get into it. So just as a quick note of the broad parameters of the timeline, I'll lay those out, and then I'll kick over to Sam, who's gonna sprint us through all the stuff that happened. So we're launching How Many Dudes on July 30th, and How Many Dudes came from the GMTK Jam, which was on July 30th of 2025. So our very first commit in the How Many Dudes project was exactly 1 year before the launch.
Sounds like we did it on purpose, but we didn't even realize that we had done this until a couple days ago. I think we were like, wait a second, when exactly did we start?
Just worked out that way. And it's also going to be the case that it wasn't even 1 year of dev, which you'll find out is that we didn't even actually start working on the game in earnest until a little while after that. But yeah, it's been a very fast dev cycle and a lot happened. So Sam, why don't you just saddle up and let's ride through
Buckle
this
in.
thing.
Yeah, and as I've mentioned, you feel free to in the comments for else you can link certain times. So if there's a question you have about a certain thing or a comment about a certain piece that you want to make sure you take notes on, you can feel free to drop those in there for little timestamps.
Yeah, with that timestamp.
Yeah, so as I said, we started on July 30th. That was first commit for the GMTK Game Jam. And the theme that year was Loop. And the GMTK Jam is the reason we decided to do that one is because they have a big feedback period and there's a lot of people participating. So we thought, what better way to test like our new design theory that we should make games people want? Wow. And what better way to test that is, throw them into a big bucket where no one has to be there. It's kind of just like a good way to have some initial views of your, basically of your jam game. Because
There's tens of thousands of games on
play.
there. So if your game can get even in like the top 100, then you might have something, right?
Yep.
An instant market test.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, plus you get to see people play, people play it on stream, like devs will play it on stream, right? And so these aren't like big, these aren't like big YouTubers, not big streamers or else. This is just like people playing it, and it's just as good of info for that early batch stuff.
Yeah, which is important. That's an important idea too, right? Because it's normally extremely difficult to get people to try the stuff that you make, and so if you can find something like this where that's the whole point, everyone's there doing the same thing, then it gives you an opportunity to get that early access and that early visibility into how people feel about what you're making without having to do a lot of work.
100%. And luckily, I mean, honestly, the theme that you're being loop games are made of loops, sort of like that's like the design terminology. So we were like, well, I guess we can just do whatever we want.
Very
so let's
open
just go.
game.
Yeah. So the end result of that though was that we got the How Many Dudes first like prototype build put up for the jam. We did get to see people play it, and it was kind of astonishing how engaged like chat was with the person streaming. How people would go from being very dubious about having to download and install exe because we didn't have a web build at the time. To
and
actually
this version of the game was just dudes would die, and you had to buy more dudes with your money. And you had to spend money to heal your dudes in between rounds. And then we had a very basic upgrade system where you'd spend money to get more attack power or whatever. There was no relics, no special abilities. We had like 5 different types of dudes that had some different stats, and that was it. But even with that, it was working. You know,
it had some legs. Yeah, I think there were like 5 different enemy types, maybe toddlers, wolves, gorillas, and like 1 or 2 other, like some ducks or something. So yeah, not much meat on that bone, but people were into it.
Still a tasty stew.
Well, it was also it represented the core concept of what the game still
to be. Watch a bunch of dudes beat up animals. That's kind of the
yeah. And so from that, then we ended up the week after launch. We were actually one of the only games in the top like 30, I think, popularity wise, that was an exe. All the rest of the games were web builds, which of course makes sense because people are trying to play a lot of them, right? So we also took that as a sign. We were like, oh, one, we were dumb. We should have figured out how to do web builds before because that would have made this a lot more easy.
Which is a good tip if you do take this approach yourself for a future game.
Figure out how to
make a web build.
Yep. And then the other was like, okay, if we can land in the top 30 when it's kind of onerous to play the fucking game, then like, again, positive signal that maybe we got something here. So we decided from there, we were like, okay, we're just going to throw up a Steam store page as well as get the web build up on itch.io after the jam because we couldn't update during, and also onto gx.games because we work with GameMaker. Opera owns GameMaker, who also does GX Games. So we just sent them a note. We're like, hey, could you guys feature this? Put it on the front page or whatever. They're like, yeah, sure. And so within like a couple of days, we had like 50,000 plays on that gx.games build. And again, we're like, oh, okay. And we don't have metrics for like, I don't know if that's good.
Is that good? I mean, it's 50,000 is 50,000.
Seems like a lot.
It's a big number. It's a big number.
Seems like a lot. And we had those web builds we eventually then updated those, I think by the time we put the Steam page up on August 8th to include links to the Steam page. So you could go and wishlist it, right? So we're like, okay, we don't know when we're going to pick this up because we were actually in the middle of the content update for Crashlands 2 at the time. We're basically wrapping that up, the final update for that. And so we had the Steam page up. We had these web builds out with links to it. We had just gotten the jam finished up and had like a little tiny honorable mention in the GMTK Game Jam kind of wrap up video that Mark Brandt does on his channel. You can see how many dudes in there for a brief moment. Though it's not like called out by name, that sort of thing. And then we were like, okay, well, let's just put this down because we got to finish some stuff and we'll see if it does anything while it kind of churns. By August 12th, so it's just 4 days after the Steam page goes live, we had about 245 wish lists on the store page, which isn't much, if I'm being honest,
It's simultaneously a lot and nothing. Because, like, we were seeing, you always see articles like, oh, this indie game, like, launched their Steam page and they got 30,000 wish lists on the first day because of this trailer that they made or whatever. And so, like, we were seeing literally nothing like that. We sent out our own newsletter. And we were, like Sam was saying, we pointed people from GX and from other places, and with all these levers we pulled, we squeezed out 245 wish lists, and we're like,
this is an important note too, especially if you're an indie developer who's newer to the game, and you're listening to this. When we talk about what the numbers mean that we're throwing out, we're going to say numbers are small when they might seem big to you, and so just for perspective, remember that we've been doing this professionally for 15 years, and And when you're doing it professionally and already have levers you can pull, right? The fact that we could talk to GX Games and be like, hey, please feature this, right? That kind of stuff, right? Means that there's a big gap between like the numbers you can get at various points in time, and we're still not anywhere close to the high end of where that lives, but we're a big distance from like someone
Where you
just
start.
starting out who doesn't have any levers to pull yet.
And
Importantly,
we got
our
7
team is like 8
full-time,
people.
7 or
Yeah.
8 full-time
Yeah.
staff. We're paying salaries. We got healthcare.
This is an expensive operation.
Yeah, this isn't like hobbyist numbers. This is enterprise numbers. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like we're a business and we have to cover our costs. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So
basically, the goals we're looking for are basically these various watermarks that would put us where it would be a good idea, right? That we had made this game. We get a positive ROI on it, given the fact that every day that we are working on it is burning money because we're a studio, an actual studio, right? It's not just sweat equity at this point. Yeah. Okay, so then we put a short up on September 25th, I believe.
Yeah. So this was the same day as we released the Crashlands 2 content up. Because coming into the final Crashlands 2 content patch, we go into string lock, where we stop working on the game. We have localization, but we haven't yet released the patch. So we used that intervening time to start working on some YouTube shorts for How Many Dudes and try to figure out whether we had marketing legs.
Was this
Yeah,
was this the final patch of Crashlands 2?
The final patch, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The big boss
this
update and
is
all that.
nearly 2 months after the GMTK jam.
Yeah, and the whole time, again, it was just kind of chilling. It hadn't really done much. We did those shorts largely in response to seeing other devs talk about them. So part of the reason why we talk about them on this podcast too. Jonas Roller in particular did some interviews with some people that I had caught on to. And we'd done some experiments actually starting with the podcast. The podcast channel itself, like doing the podcast as a YouTube thing and turning into shorts, was weirdly one of those like precursor pieces to realizing that shorts were good, and then also seeing people on the dev side cracking into them and getting good results and kind of starting to experiment with those ourselves. So that was our first. It was our first short with regards to How Many Dudes, and it ended up actually pretty successful little thing. I think it was like around 116K views.
Yeah, generated 466 wish lists in the first week.
Yep, which was again we haven't. The thing that was exciting about us, and again, the numbers are relatively small in terms of what we would need as a large studio, or I guess we're not large, we're a tiny studio, but
small
like,
studio, but
as a small studio paying
big indie
salary.
small studio.
Yes, tiny studio really. But like in terms of what numbers we would like need to see, right, to be like, oh, that's like definitely going to pay us back. At this point, we're actually so excited about the fact that we can actually generate these ourselves. This is the first time in the history of the studio that we've been like, oh, there's communications we can put out there that don't get throttled by the platform, right? Because we have had that experience 10 years ago with Facebook. We built up a Facebook audience with Quadrupus Rampage, and then they made it so you had to pay to show
post
your fucking posts to the audience you built. Twitter kind of ended up being the same kind of thing for us. We never really managed to get that to work. We've never been able to have any success with Reddit. Everyone just attacks us all the time. So we're just like, it's been this thing.
Well, and we have our own, we also have our newsletter, right? But that's got a similar problem, which is it's not so much about gatekeepers as it is about trying to get an email into somebody's inbox is
spam.
Dodging the spam filter.
It's such a challenge. And so we've been running that newsletter now since 2014, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's currently got, I don't even know how many subscribers. I haven't looked in a while, but it's got somewhere around 100,000 subscribers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's despite we call it all the time, so people don't open things we send, that we just auto unsubscribe them because no one's getting anything out of that, you know. And we've been able to consistently with that newsletter over the years. Every time we send it, we can get something on the order of a few hundred to a small number of thousands of people to take the action we're asking for, right?
Watch this thing.
Yeah.
Watch this game.
But that's literally spending a decade accumulating and maintaining and managing this very challenging means of communicating with people, right? And then here, Sam makes the first short that we've tried.
Bam, 466 wish lists.
For a prototype game, and we got 400 wish lists.
Yeah, so we were like, okay. And then what was very interesting about that is that we did the same thing. That was a batch of shorts that we did. One for How Many Dudes, and then a couple for Crashlands and a couple for Levelhead too. That came kind of shortly after.
Because we wanted to experiment to see relatively.
Could we promote Crashlands too? It wasn't even actually about like at the time about relative promotion concepts. Just like we were just like, can we use this for Crashlands 2 also? Because like we had this big update coming up. So we put together some of those too, and those ones, the numbers weren't as good in terms of just the raw views and stuff like the raw engagement level. But more importantly is that we weren't able to see a pickup on the Steam backend, even though that was like a relatively basically there were places where we should be able to see that something was happening if we were getting like I think 40,000 views.
With how many
those.
dudes we saw, basically like a 0.5 to 1% conversion rate of people, a number of views on the short to number of wish lists we got on their side, right? And so we're able. So basically, if it's we're like, okay, if it's around 1%, then that means if we get enough views for the other games, then we would expect to see a 1% of that number ish, translate over into wish lists. And we couldn't see that on those other two games.
Yeah, which was fascinating. We're like, oh, okay. So again, coming back to this theory that started the whole thing, which was like, can we make a game that is easier to sell, that people just want because of the high concept of it, as opposed to having to like get into the details of it? It was like, okay, apparently maybe even though Crashlands 2 is like a magnum opus for us in terms of like the tech, the art, the whole fucking kit, it's
hard to
just hard
sell.
to sell.
Yeah,
Hard to sell.
it's just hard to sell.
So we're like, okay, interesting. And then also very excited because that meant that we could actually fucking get our own wish list for the first time ever, right? And granted, it takes a little bit of effort, but I've been doing the studio's like video editing stuff now for the whole time. And so we switched over to CapCut to get this started because again, tools matter a lot. And it was not that bad to make these. So we made a couple more for October, but neither of those did very well. And again, we're still at this point just experimenting with trying to answer the question. You're doing two things. You're trying to say like, does this game sell? But also, can I make a good short? And you don't want to conflate the two.
Well, and also just to establish a anchor point of timeline. So then at the start of October, which is when we actually started working on the game for real, we had about 1,300 wish lists at that time. And well over half of those were coming from just that first YouTube short.
Yeah, I think that's the YouTube short and then the newsletter.
And the newsletter, it's probably almost all of it.
Yeah.
Nothing from Steam. Like literally.
And Steam was not driving any traffic to the game.
Which also makes sense because why would it? It was like we have a prototype game with a simple page up and they don't know if we're going to, they don't know anything about it at that point, right? So it makes sense.
Yep. So then, starting October, we start working on it, or we set our goal for the end of the year. We're basically trying to say we want to get this game done within a year. That was the goal, or 6 months to a year, basically was the timeline. And by the end of 2025, the calendar year, we want to have 20,000 wish lists. Because if we can't do that, like during dev with this sort of concept of these shorts and this other stuff, then probably that's a signal that we should just sort of get the thing out the door.
And with a 1-year cycle, because we call it a 1-year dev cycle, right? But it's a 1-year dev and marketing and publishing cycle, the whole thing.
Yeah,
right?
Concept to launch.
Yeah, so that means that we had a much more constrained amount of time to accumulate the wish list that we needed for launch. And so we felt like if after the first basically 4-ish months of really working on it, if we couldn't move that needle enough to start accumulating wish lists, then we thought that we didn't have enough time, or it was the wrong project to try to do in a single year.
Well, it's part of the theory, back to what Sam was saying, it's part of the theory that we were kind of coalescing on, which is you can put your game out there and people don't respond. And you might think to yourself like, oh, I just need to add like another feature. And then you add that feature and people still don't respond. And you add another feature, people still don't respond. And it turns out that it's not the extra features that are missing, it's the core concept of the game that people aren't responding to. And so if we couldn't get 20,000 wish lists by the end of the year, so after the first 3 months of dev, then there's a problem with the core concept of the game, and then we should just probably think about making something else.
Yeah, but importantly, that's not us being like, we'll do no marketing. And just have it on Steam, and then
we're going to try to.
We should just have.
I do want to put an underline on that, right? Because again, we are seeing non-signals. We've talked about this in various previous episodes, which are we're doing things and nothing is happening. So like Steam page goes up, nothing is happening, right?
Does that mean
some
anything?
Some of the shorts go up, not really much happens. But even with those shorts that did perform poorly, so again, there are 2 more shorts in October that did poorly. It's like 11,000 views, 6,000 views.
Yeah, you mean
because nothing was happening on the front page.
Poorly on YouTube.
On YouTube, yeah. Because nothing was happening on the Steam page, we could still see a bump though, which is hilarious. It's like you could literally, you're getting like 5 wishes a day. You can see a bump of 10 because you put a fucking short out, right?
You make a short, gets 10,000 views. You still get 25 wishes out of it. And it's like, I mean, it's still converted.
Yeah.
Like,
so
the video was bad.
The video was bad. I did a bad job, but somehow it worked.
But
like, that's the opposite. So we're always looking for, I guess you do need to collect signals from a variety of places before you decide that like, probably this isn't going to work. Because the reality is that you need a very strong signal at some point that the thing's going to work, right? But it's hard to know when that's
good signal. I think the reason also this worked out well for us in terms of like when you're trying to interpret these signals for all these like these no-go decisions, right? we got to start with that really strong signal from the GMTK.
We did. Yes,
Right.
that was honestly that was the thing.
And that we really held on. Yeah, because there were all these other times where we're looking at stuff like the ones that Sam just described, where we're like, is this a signal that like is the reason that this performed poorly on YouTube was because people aren't responding well to the game? Or is it because this wasn't a good video and YouTube didn't push it up the algorithms, right? And you can't know that. And so you have this uncertainty the whole time. We had this uncertainty the whole time of are we chasing something dumb? Should we not be doing this? But the thing we got to hold on to the whole time was that the strongest signal we frankly had until we had a couple shorts really take off as well.
And at this stage of dev, we also really had to force ourselves to get over the fear of making a bad impression.
Yeah.
Where we're like, if we make a bad video trying to showcase the game and almost nobody sees it, the video doesn't exist.
Yeah.
If nobody sees it and it doesn't really work or whatever, it's not going to ruin the public perception of the game. There is no public perception of the game. So
it really
just
doesn't
try
matter.
stuff. Just make a bunch of videos trying different.
Yeah, a big part of this I think was
pitches,
it's sort of like casting off a lot of the stuff we learned, frankly, over the last 15 years in this last year, about like how precious you have to be.
The AAA mindset.
The
Like,
AAA
like,
mindset,
you really
or even
gotta
like the
curate
the-
your
even like the big
announcements.
indie mindset of like, how particular all this stuff has to be, how perfect all it has to be.
Yeah, keep everything secret
like-
until you
like
have a big
why does
reveal, and that big
GTA
reveal is
yeah,
perfect. And
Like for like GTA 6 is like the counterexample, right? Where it's like they'll sit there for 8 years of dev and then they'd be like, here's one screenshot.
Yep.
Right.
and
And
it's
everybody's like,
probably
oh,
leaked.
right. It's because they already have the audience. They
Well,
don't
and
need.
also, they still haven't even put a gameplay trailer,
Yeah,
just
they're
raw
not.
gameplay.
Yeah,
you know what I
they're
mean?
not.
Seen
They're
any.
not convincing anybody. Everybody's already convinced.
Yeah.
They don't have to do anything. Right?
Yeah, so we're like, okay, we want to be in that camp. Quit fucking around with like, or as in like where the high concept of the game, people just want it, and then it's just how good are we at putting things together in a shape that people will like be able to see it in, such that they can find out that it exists.
And it's also the idea that we don't control when things happen. So what we can do is keep building all the nets that catch people when things happen, right? And so that's why we didn't do a Steam store page launch in a meaningful sense, right? We just put it up. Because once it was up, then
It's
we
a
could
net.
start accumulating wish lists.
It's a net.
It's there. We can now catch people if they
Eat those
Don't be
fees.
so fucking precious about it. Yeah, because again, we weren't counting. Steam will not send traffic to your store page. I guess this is the big
Yeah, there's no
ta-da.
such thing as a store page launch, right?
Well, unless you are pointing people to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's the note. So like, if you're being all precious about like exactly what your store page looks like, but you have the game, for example, like a prototype of the game up on itch.io, just fucking put the Steam store page up and put people over, because the thing people are responding to is the game that they're playing on itch.io, because Steam is not doing anything for you. Steam is just sitting there. It's just sitting there.
That's true. Yeah,
So-
because right. What you're saying is the only people who will even see that store page are the people you have managed to send.
People who are already
Yes.
interested in it
Some
because they're
other
coming
way.
from somewhere
So you're
else.
fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so they're not going to care what like which doesn't mean put a sloppy store page together, but it does
Well,
mean
we
you don't
still
have
had
to
a
be too precious
trailer.
about it.
We made like a 15-second trailer. We had screenshots. We put together like we
Oh, yeah,
made a
you
pitch.
do all the things.
You know, and we barely had anything because it was still a jam game at that point. But we still made a pitch. You know what I mean? So,
Yep. And so then basically at the end of October, we put together the trailer, which is still the trailer, like as of this moment, that is actually visible and everything. And that trailer was based on what we'd seen in terms of engagement rates for the shorts that we do. I think it's a recut of like one of those shorts videos. That basically the one that had done the best up to that point. And so that was also like a useful tool, which was like, okay, again, the shape of the media is important, but also it worked well in the shorts format. Maybe it'll work well as just a trailer. It didn't. Nothing happened with it. We put it out. We got like 1,200 views.
nobody cares
That's
about
kinda
a trailer for the game that they've never heard of and that nobody's talking
Yeah,
about.
I think it's just so precious. Again, like
but it's there.
it's there. I would do it kind of even dumber than we did this time around, where it's like, don't make that second one. Keep that 15-second stupid one that we made after the jam on the page, and just do shorts. That's kind of how I would do it now, until you need a announcement trailer or something, or you start getting into festivals.
And I will say, throughout this entire process, anytime the game had changed enough where we felt like there was enough like visual interest to show, then we would do a repass of the store page and getting screenshots up. So we did that like every month, basically.
We did it a lot.
We
did it a few times.
It was just a few times. It was like 3 or 4 times. But that's
but in those, it was in those first like 3 months, right? So it's like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, it's a lot in the sense that it's not just because it's a lot relative to the scale of the calendar loop that the game is on, right? As in, like every month of dev while we were working on it in that early phase before we launched the demo.
Yeah, maybe like, oh shit, let me go get some screenshots.
Yeah, and
just
the
touch it
idea
up.
there is basically like, again, rather than being precious about it, and having like the one thing that has to work now. The idea was, okay, as we're iterating on the game, also iterate on marketing. Put out some new shorts as once we feel like we've got the game now looks nicer, so maybe some shorts will perform better, right?
Yeah.
The
And
game
importantly,
looks nicer. Maybe updating the screenshots.
Yeah,
on
we
the store
used
looks better.
concepts from the shorts to drive what we were going to focus on for dev.
Yep.
So it'd be like, we put together like, oh, it'd be funny to do a video about this thing, but we don't have the VFX done for that thing yet. So it will look
let's do
cooler.
that.
So let's get those done, which is a thing we normally wouldn't have done until, considerably later. So it was a very much
marketing was the driver for dev decisions in a lot of cases.
Yes, in a lot of cases. And so that kind of continued, frankly, through the end of the year. But so from start of November, we had 1,600 wish lists. That's it. And then we had just gotten 300 in October. So even though we had those 2 shorts, again, they didn't really do much. Steam wasn't doing much. We just had to like passive kind of creep. That's not a lot. That's not a lot of gain. So this is where we start getting a little nervous.
Yeah. So store page has been up since August. Now
Mhm.
it's November. 1,600
Yeah.
wish lists.
And then we start noticing some, in November, very start of November, some random Brazilian creators covering the itch jam version. Out of nowhere, we just had the spike of like a couple hundred wish lists.
Yeah, it took a while to track down.
And
to
the
figure
game's
out where that
not.
was
The
coming
game's
from.
in English.
Yeah, it's in English. So we're like, what the fuck? So we find this, we find this Wallace Sato was the guy. And then we also noticed that the videos are vastly outperforming the other videos on their channel. So again, 2 positive signals back to back, right? Someone randomly decides to put up the game. We didn't talk to anybody about this. The game was just sitting there. Randomly picks it up. And the 2 is that when they publish a video about it, the video does better for them than other things, which is a very important note
for
for
them.
games, right?
Which means it's
for them.
beneficial for a YouTuber to make a video about the game because it drives.
Yes.
And that's a
drives
really
engagement.
strong signal, because if that's true, that means you can get streamers have a high incentive to cover the game.
Yes, that's like honestly one of the most important ones. Of course, it's hard to know if that's going to happen until you get someone to cover it, which is it's all the circular shit,
It's
right?
important to emphasize how much to like. There's luck. There's luck here. There's always luck, right?
Yep,
And
100%.
yeah.
So we then from that point, we have a daily deal coming up for Crashlands and Crashlands 2. So this is like a franchise sale. So we update Crashlands and Crashlands 2 to include a little call out on the main menus there, basically in time for that daily deal, so that we can maybe get some like passive kind of people punching through. We did see that. It's true. It does work a bit. I wouldn't say that like that's the driving force of any of How Many Dudes' success, though. I
pulled
think it's a really
in-
important note.
Well, maybe a couple hundred wish lists.
We don't
it-
have good attribution, so it's hard to know. But it'll have added to like a low baseline.
Yes.
But for some context, for the Crashlands 2 launch, that was a big way that we drove wishlist and traffic into Crashlands 2.
Yeah, it was
was-
actually probably the primary driver of Crashlands 1.
Yeah,
or
from
Crashlands
the
2.
data that we were able to collect, like it looks like the main driver was Crashlands 1 to Crashlands 2, call to action, go wishlist the game. We knew that because How Many Dudes is such a different game, right?
Mhm.
That rate would be way lower, and it is.
Almost zero.
But there's no reason not to pull that lever and just add
well,
that
again,
baseline.
when you got
in.
like 5 wish lists a day,
yeah,
don't be precious about it. It's fine. If you get 6 wish lists a day, wow, it's a 20% increase.
Yeah, it's a huge boost.
Great. So again, that's an important note. And again, like targeting wise, Crashlands 2, the store page was up for like almost 3 years, and we had about 180,000 wish lists right before like the launch ramp happened, right? And so that's, you gotta keep in mind, like we're thinking, in our minds, we're like, how the fuck do we condense 2 or 3 years of marketing energy into this
While making the game.
while making
well,
the damn
and
thing, right?
especially in the case of Crashlands 2, every lever we pulled was from Crashlands 1 success, right? And
Yes.
we couldn't do that going into
Yeah, How Many Dudes is a new thing. There's no existing fan base to pull
exactly.
from.
So we're like, okay, we got to really figure this out.
Yeah.
So, middle of November rolls around. We put together a group of shorts that all kind of scheduled out, boom, boom, boom. And I think the second one of those that went live was the Bean Burrito short, the vampire farting itself back to life using a bean burrito, which was a bug in the game that was hilarious. And that video ended up being our first like big video. So it got like 900,000 views in its first week, generated around 2,200 wish lists. And what was also interesting is that like sort of the follow on from that, after that video went boom, then all the videos on the channel. I mean, like the total amount of views lift that we got was actually around like 1.5 million.
Even the
total.
shorts that previously hadn't really gotten many views, suddenly they get 10 or 20,000 extra views just
Yes.
because they're
or in some cases like 100,000 or 200,000.
because YouTube, it's algorithmic, right? And so like we can say like this short is about the game How Many Dudes, and
Mhm.
they're all tagged, they're all flagged that way on the back end. And so if people really highly engage with a video about How Many Dudes, then those people are more likely to be shown other videos about how many dudes. Well, nobody's making videos about how many dudes except us at this point.
Yep.
So all of our shorts just suddenly
Get a
like
lift.
shot up. Yeah.
Well, that was also just a lesson we learned too about how the YouTube stuff works. Is that every time something you have takes off, YouTube is like, oh, maybe I should remind people about this channel in case right.
Yeah, I think the YouTube algorithm is the most mature one of all the platforms. So the reason I'm not talking about TikTok or Instagram is because we started cross-posting our videos over there, and like just couldn't get them to do fucking anything. Even though, again, the exact same video, the vampire burrito one, got like I think like 2,000 or 3,000 views on Instagram, maybe like 11,000 on TikTok. Nothing, right? So again, we're figuring out, like, I think it's also one of the challenges when you're making the short form content or any of this marketing stuff is like you're trying to get a signal, but there's randomness in this algorithmic crap. And I think YouTube is the reason I like YouTube as like a testing platform is because it's the most reliable from its behavior standpoint. There's still weird shit where like you'll put up a video, one of those videos that was alongside the burrito one had better metrics, like all of the metrics,
every metric. Yeah.
but didn't. I don't know why.
Maybe
like,
it got less comments or something. We don't know behind the scenes what the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you like, yeah, it's like we don't know exactly, but you can tell. You basically can tell that a video is going to do like well based on some of those early metric reads that you get from behind the scenes on YouTube Shorts, versus on like TikTok or whatever else. It's just like a fucking random, to be honest with you.
And also just the analytics are there's enough
so much,
there that there's stuff you can hold on to because you're like, oh, people like really dropped off after this point, and so. What was happening in the video at that point? Because there's something we can take away from there, right? There's just a lot of learning we could do from
a reliable sharpening tool for that. But this kind of hit to a point where we're like, okay, we need to try. It seems like we could try now because we got like clearly this works. Reaching out to some streamers, like, can we get this is like the next layer, right? Okay, we can do these shorts. We get some views on these shorts. Those turn into wish lists. Can we get some streamers to cover it on purpose? So we sent out about 60 keys, half to English speaking streamers and half to like Chinese streamers on the 21st of November, and waited for pickup. I'm very hopeful, like within a couple of days, given what we just seen with the short. Nothing happened.
Just nothing
happened. So that was a big bummer because we're like, oh, it's just, again, you're trying to wade through and sift through these confusing signals that just make you anxious as fuck because you're like, are we doing the right thing? And it's like, yeah, and then you're like, you said try some other kind of a signal, and it's like crickets. And so during this time is where I started getting very anxious because I was basically we looked through our wish lists and all of them, again, Steam still hadn't done literally anything for us at this point. All of our wish lists were from shorts now, basically.
Yeah. So coming into the very start of December, so end of November, we're at 6,700 wish lists. Yeah. And 5,000 of those were from November, all from the shorts.
Yes. Yeah. And so again, paired with zero organic traffic from Steam, Seth and I had a chat where I was like, I don't know how, if we want to hit this 20,000 mark by the end of the month, I need to only be making shorts.
Because it's the only thing that's generating wish lists.
Yeah. And we had a few ideas that I could make some stuff for, but we had to make more of the game. Like the game was still very fucking early, right? And so I was really stressed out because I was like, I don't know how to somehow be two people at once and do both these things and also do the design chats. I was like, quite freaking out. And so Seth was like, well, why don't we just instead, if we know that basically people can make content about the game that does do well, then it stands to reason that if we just get the fucking demo out, then it won't all be on you anymore to be making content. You could sort of, be free, and everybody else can make content too.
Yeah,
right?
because we would send out the keys, no response. But aside from the Brazilian YouTuber, these little videos kept popping up of people playing the jam version from way back when, which is free, right? So we're like, if there's a free version of the current version of the game out there that's way better and has way more stuff going on, then other people will make videos about the game, and we no longer have to, and we can put our time into working on the game.
It at least creates the opportunity, and creates the opportunity for the knock-on effects of then now when we do make a video and spend the time to do that it doesn't just become a dead end where we did it, we made the video about the game, people see it, maybe they wishlist it, maybe they don't, but there's no other next action they can take. They can't
now
be like,
we still have to make the next video.
Yeah, they could be like, oh, I want to make a video about this, right?
Yeah.
So we said, okay, we're going to try to target the middle of January to get this demo out. That seems like a good time. It's after the winter sale, whatever. Let's just kind of cruise.
And this is like start of December when we're kind of having this.
Yeah. So we work on the game for about 10 days. And then we're like, fuck it, we can just launch this thing on the 17th. Let's just get this out before.
Fuck it. We
Fuck it.
ball.
Again, quit being so precious about it. We're like the game, and that happened because we were playing it enough internally. We'd finished a couple of these other systems changes that we wanted that were essentially like these meta level system changes that were more underscoring of like how the final experience was supposed to be, right? That we were like, honestly, anything we add from here on is going to be an add.
Yeah.
It's not like a big change.
Which
if
isn't
that
an
makes sense.
important note. We didn't just pull the lever. Literally, like, who cares? It
No.
wasn't that,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah,
It was-
our internal signal was when I accidentally played the game for 20 hours over the weekend. I was like,
Yes.
this good.
So it's like,
Like,
that's fucking
it's
fine.
fucking
Let's go
good.
play a demo
Yeah.
for like max an hour. Let's
There's
do benchmark.
placeholder art everywhere. There's missing VFX, but it's fun as fuck. So,
Yeah.
so who cares?
Yes, we're like, okay. So we just decided the shape of that, basically what content to cut out that we had already produced, put a few blockers and stuff to make sure that we weren't accidentally releasing stuff that we didn't want to be. Decided on December 17th instead of waiting until mid-January. The winter sale was going to start right after that. So we were like, whatever.
yeah, and our rationale was basically nobody else is going to be launching anything new.
Because
at
it's
this
a
time.
dumb idea to launch stuff during the winter sale.
Yes.
And so we'll be a new thing. And we don't know if that's going to get up above any noise because there's going to be a lot of noise during the winter
Mhm.
sale. But,
Yep.
we assumed like demos are going to be differently anyway from people actually buying games. And so we thought there might be like a visibility lane that kind of lived there.
Well,
It
and
turns out this is true. Like there's a Zakowski article on how to market a game about how Cairn did this actually the year before us, where they released their demo right before the sale, because top demos is like a category, or trending
Yep.
free is like a category.
that even
that's
during the
present.
winter sale, the top demo like stuff is still there. It doesn't get
Yes.
buried, by
Yes,
the
but if
winter
you
sale.
if you launch your actual game, don't do that.
Yeah, don't
Okay,
do that.
Then you're
That's-
fucked.
Then you're fucked. So again, don't be too cavalier about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we also had a Kotaku article lined up around this time too, and so we ended up on December 14th, so a couple of days before, this guy Sifty, who is one of the guys we had reached out to in that November batch of influencers who we never heard from, randomly happened to put a video out. And again, we saw the same thing where it was like, we got like 400 wishlist from it. It was his best video on his channel by a large margin. And so we were like, let's just fucking pull the trigger.
And he actually made several, right? Because
Yeah, he made several.
that
in a row.
video did so
Over the
well
next-
that he
yeah.
made several.
Yeah, so December 16th, we were like, you know what, it's good. Whatever, let's fucking just send it.
Yeah, so we just launched the demo one day because also again like nobody was waiting for the there
No
was
one's waiting for you.
no
No one
press. There was we're just like fuck it. We just launched it on the
Yep.
16th.
Yeah, we really
And-
embraced the freedom this time around that nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, which again,
about
like
what
we're
we
not
do.
doing for the launch, but for the demo, like if nobody gives a shit about your game, you're free to do anything.
Yeah,
you just
pretty much.
just
And
go.
so we had about 7,600 wish lists at this point.
Yeah.
And
So
we
we had 2
also-
weeks to go until the end of the year, where our goal was 20,000 by end of year, and so
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
like a
Yeah,
third
like
of the way there.
7,600 accumulated wish lists from, again, a quick game that we put together that had no coverage of any sort, really, right? That we're
Mhm.
pulling our own levers for and that kind of stuff. Like that's not
It ain't nothing.
it's not
But-
nothing. It's not enough to have any confidence that we can launch a game and then pay
Yes.
our team, right? But it's not nothing. But it is
Mhm.
not enough, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're trying to still just thinking that maybe something will happen that we can get up to this this 20,000 mark that we set. And importantly with this, the partner we use for handling our press outreach and stuff, Recoup, they send out emails to like a bajillion streamers for this demo thing. So again, we are hitting the button to be like, oh, whatever, fuck it, a day early. I think they still sent out their stuff on the 17th. Because they were, I don't know, I can't remember if they were in Discord and we were like suddenly just like, hey, change plans, we're doing it today. But they sent out emails to like 1,000 people or something,
Yeah, we're
being
still
like,
doing
hey,
all the things.
demos out. But again, we're expecting like maybe nothing to happen, and we send a newsletter out as well. So the peak of day one, peak concurrent players, is like 139 people, right? At this point, personally, I was already like, great, that's all awesome. That's
I think we had like 2,000 people play it.
Yeah.
the first day
like, that's
total.
fucking dope. And I was like, okay, if we can get up to like, if we could just see it grow or kind of see what this growth pattern is for this thing, hopefully it gets up to like 200, maybe 300 peak CCU. That would be awesome. It's a lot of players, whatever. So then a lot of things happened. It just started rolling up.
Basically, our plan actually worked.
The plan worked,
Uh,
which is again, we've had a lot of plans over 15 years, well-grounded.
They generally don't work.
They generally don't work.
Or they if they work, it's like they
It's
work
hard to-
at the mediumest way that they
Yeah.
can.
Yes. Yeah. And so this one just worked. And so by the end of the year, so fast forward 2 weeks, we had 47,914 wish lists. So that's more than
Yeah.
double our
Because like
goal.
YouTubers just kept playing it, and then more of them would play it, and more of them would play it, and it just kind of
Yeah,
Just
and
kinda
almost
kept
every time
going.
they did, the video that they had
Channel
just
did well.
made performed better than all their recent videos. And so then they made another
Yeah.
one, right?
And it just kept going. I remember this whole time just being like, okay, this must be literally every day we were like, that must be the drop off point.
Yeah.
'cause there's
we had that thing about like we're hyped about the fact that it kept going up, and we're like, this is it though. Like
Yeah,
this is
there's no
like
way.
because we don't want to we don't want to do the LLM thing. Like, oh, if we just keep adding. Look, this graph looks like this. If we just trace it, it's going to be 83 times higher by this point next year.
Yep.
You know, like
Yeah.
we're just assuming that it's just gonna
it's a cliff. at some
nosedive
point.
at some
Which is
point.
also how games always work, is they hit a peak, and then the rate at which you hit the peak is the same rate at which it comes back down on the other side, right?
So we're like, okay, but then it just kept going. And the peak was actually on January 7th after Moist Critical, I think, played it for the first or second time. And it was a peak concurrent players of 3,300, which, again, for context, with Crash Land 2's launch, Crash Land 2's peak was around 8,800, which was fantastic.
Yeah, for a launch game.
For a launch game.
Yeah.
And so we were like,
I think
wow,
at this point
okay.
we were competing for the number one played demo spot with that sword game, right?
Yes, Half Sword.
Half Sword.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Which had been chilling there for like 6 months or something. And so it was a very fun time. We were like, wow, this is weird.
This is something.
Was that also when we finally caught the discovery queue, or was that?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I think that's also
beginning
what
of
helped us
January.
hit the peak. There was
It was after the store page turned over.
Yeah.
We finally
after
got Discovery Queue.
after
So
the
again,
winter sale. Yeah.
we entered Discovery Queue. Now, having self-generated, and this is like really fucking annoying to me, anyways, personally,
Like-
having self-generated basically 100,000 wish lists. Well, yeah, almost 100,000. We're basically there.
Yeah.
Because I think it started a little bit after that.
Yeah, because we hit
And-
100,000 wish lists on January 10th.
But that's also the reason we got put in the queue, right? Because Steam only puts you in the discovery queue if there's a lot of activity going on in your wish list and stuff.
People can only discover the game if it's already been discovered. You know,
Yeah,
Which again,
It's
the
not really a
circularity here is
discovery.
annoying.
it's annoying, but also it makes sense.
It makes sense.
But it also, at the scale Steam's operating at, it still is a discovery queue in the sense that Steam discovered us because we had
right.
done all this stuff, right? And then they showed it to way more people than we could possibly
Yes.
show it to,
Yeah.
right?
Well, actually, that was interesting thing. Is like the Discovery Queue amounted to about half of our traffic during that time.
Mhm.
So in other words, all this other stuff, all this external stuff, was still as big as or bigger than Steam, right?
Yeah.
As far as what's happening here.
Another way to frame it is if Discovery Queue was half our traffic, then it doubled our traffic.
Yep.
That's
great.
that's good. Yeah.
So yeah, then dev goes on. So we update the demo at the end of January with localization. So we actually didn't have any loc in there to start with. Again, try not to be too precious about it. And that gave us we basically did a wave of Chinese influencer stuff. That's the biggest market that we were trying to get into. And that also got some good pickup. So the game just kind of kept on cruising. Just two fun notes about the demo as of now. Basically, since just the third day of the demo being available, there has never been less than 2,000 daily active users for the demo on Steam. And only twice, momentarily, has it dipped below 100 concurrent players on Steam. Again, our previous games, so Crash Lands 2, Levelhead, all of those have dipped below 100 players after some months of us not doing anything new for the
Yeah,
game.
relatively shortly after launch.
Yeah, so that's
Granted, they're not free, but they're also
Yeah,
not demos.
But they're also not a demo.
yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing we talked about, we've got a lot of episodes from around from January talking about this demo stuff. Is that most people on Steam ignore demos.
Yeah.
So even getting like 100 concurrent players on a demo is a huge milestone.
huge.
Yeah, if
we
you
were never expecting that.
Which is also good. If you want to get into the weeds on any of these things, like in way more detail, this whole podcast is just that. So
that's the history of it.
Just
Each
keep
one of these
working
bullets
backwards.
is like a whole episode basically. For
Yeah.
it. But yeah, so we're now at 551,000 total demo downloads at this point.
Yeah.
So
and 2,000 daily
Yeah.
active players. Yeah.
okay, so then
So we
go
hit
to-
our goal, 20,000 by end of year.
Yep. And our launch goal, which is 50,000.
Yeah, our launch goal is 50,000. So
Yeah. So this entered the point where we're like, okay, well, we need to finish the game now.
yeah, because
And
importantly,
We did it. We did marketing now.
Importantly, the demo was not us like making the game and then slicing off a piece of it for the demo. The demo
was
was
the
the
game.
whole
Yeah.
game.
It was
we
the
had
whole
we had literally nothing else.
It was all
we
that
just
existed.
launched what we had and called it a demo.
Yep. Yep.
So,
yeah. Might have been a better way to do that, using playtests or something like that.
but it was
we didn't
it was efficient.
It was very efficient.
Yeah.
So February we said, okay, let's lock the fuck in, get this done. So we entered a kind of our dev game mode. But during this time, there's also like all the stuff happening. So again, the wishlist activity is still kind of cruising, and we're between like 300 and 600 wishlists per day, which again was strange to us because even Crashlands 2, which had its like pass through from the original game, was around like 100 per day, maybe 150 per day.
Yep.
In the tail. So again, like we weren't doing anything, but things were just happening in the background. And again, that most of that was still not really a lot of Steam traffic. It was a lot of it was still just external stuff coming in. And then we did the Convergence Showcase on February 19th. We were like the first game in the slot. This is a thing we paid for, right? So we you got played. The game gets played by the streamers for like 10 minutes, something like that. And we got like an extra probably 1,100 wish lists from that. But again, like at that base rate that we're at like 600 per day, it was like a doubling basically. For a couple days.
Yeah, if we weren't already doing so well, it would have felt significant. But in the context of how we were doing and the cost of participating, it was kind of like
Yes,
the
kind of whatever.
Yeah.
Then we rolled that straight into Next Fest. This was our plan. It was the February Next Fest. Because again, we still didn't know exactly when we were going to launch. And around this time, we thought we might be launching closer to like April or May. This is important note. So usually you're supposed to do your Next Fest as close to your launch as possible, just because like it's another spike of things. So the theory, this was the one for us. We did it on February 23rd. And over the course of that whole time, we had about 6,000 extra wish lists compared to baseline. So again, not like crazy, given that we were already getting like around that much during that window anyways, basically from what we've seen.
and we talk a lot about Next Fest.
A lot of
how we
details
thought about all
and
kind of stuff. If you go back to those episodes around February and March.
Yeah. So we did pass 180,000 wish lists during this time, during the Next Fest. We ended up in the top 50 demos for Next Fest, which led to post-fest featuring, which was actually more of the wish list. Most of the wish lists we got from Next Fest was from that.
From
Not from
after
Next Fest.
Fest.
From everybody waiting. So for everybody in the last few episodes with the AI slop one who were like, Next Fest is fine, whatever. I don't know. People were waiting until the end to look at the good stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
during Next Fest, our wish list went up by something like 4%.
Yeah.
And then after Next Fest was when we actually saw an impact.
yeah, most of them, when I say like extra 6,000, most of that was actually the featuring after the fest. We crossed around 200,000 wish lists on March 25th. So we're skipping forward a whole month. And again, we're just in our cave at this point. There's a lot of stuff
There aren't
happening.
any more spikes. There aren't any more huge because we basically had like 2 huge spikes between like basically that January 7 one that was just the accumulation of all of the demo
Mhm.
activity and then the discovery queue, right? All of that led to the first and still biggest peak by a fair bit.
Mhm.
And then we had that second peak around Next Fest with all the activity we did around that.
And so we kind of slowed
And
it.
then it's been decay.
And we're not doing YouTube Shorts now. We're just
Get
working on the
done.
game. So
Yeah.
again,
or we
our
just
plan
started
was-
doing YouTube Shorts again. But
Right, yeah. Our plan was, get the demo out so that the game is being marketed organically on its own, so we can work on the game. So we're putting at this point in dev in February, March, April, we ourselves are putting way less time into developing our own marketing content.
So come April 9th, we've decided our launch date. April 10th, we draft the remaining dudes, of which I think we had like 20 to go at this point.
yeah,
I
draft
think we're
meaning we
halfway.
figure out what they're going to be.
Just like a high level concept of them.
Or they're roughly playable in the game, but not. I'm
But
pretty
do we actually
sure.
have all of them?
I
in
think,
at
I think
that
they
point?
were. I think they were all in, but in pretty rough
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
shape.
Right, yeah. Up until that point, we were just every week we were making like 2 or 3 dudes, basically, just shoving them in as fast as possible. April 24th, we decided on our mobile strategy, which is after some more thinking. There's a whole episode about this again in the past. That we kind of our theory currently, which feel free to debunk it if you want, is that Steam is basically the discovery engine for the whole games industry at this point. So we should just go premium on mobile because originally we were thinking about possibly doing free to play. There's a whole thing there. Whatever. The whole point is that we decided to go premium.
Yeah, but free to
just
play
like
like demo style, so it'd be like an in-game unlock or
in-game unlock thing. Yeah. We also did some tags and experiments updates using the Game Discover Co. Backend, just to see like if we were thinking about this correctly. We weren't, so that was very useful. Got like a better feel for like where the game sits relative to other, basically who is wishlisting our game, and what are they playing already, and how do we kind of get our tags to be appropriately matched. And we also updated the game with new box art on May 11th. Saw like a 40% improvement in click-through rate. So I can think about this like April through May is basically like getting all the technical shit done, store page wise, right, to have the game available for launch in an effective capacity. Ending with the pre-registrations going live on Android and iOS. And so that's at May 27th.
So then all of our store pages now are finally live, right?
Yep.
By the very end of May.
Very end of May.
Yep. And that doesn't mean we're launchable yet, because we still have stuff like there's achievements to do. There's all those other bits and bobs, which again, previous episodes.
Yep. And we got to coordinate because we're coming into Google Play Pass, and we're and we're trying to get featuring on the App Store, and we're trying to convince Steam to do some manual featuring, which is they've
not worked at all.
Are not doing for us. But we're still trying to do all that kind of stuff too, and that means also coordinating with our the people who help us do publishing in China. Like there's just a lot of coordination to get ready for the launch.
Yeah. So then from June 9th, that new Steam personal calendar comes up, triples our wish list briefly while everyone's like excited about it. Then it kind of drifts back down to baseline. So I mentioned that in previous episodes. That's the update there. It's just kind of chilling where it was. But we are approaching the 2 weeks out point. We're not there yet, but supposedly 2 weeks out from launch, if your game is like one of the higher ones, then it gets put in people's like front page, basically, of that. So we'll see. We'll see if basically for the next episode, I think.
Which I assume is also why, because we've restarted our kind of shorts campaign again as of basically last week, and we're trying to juice some things a bit leading up into that 2 week stretch, so that whatever Steam's doing to decide like who's going how high, that we can hopefully juice that a little bit.
Yeah, just get a little bit higher up. So June 10th, we started our internal beta, invited just like 30 people or so from our community, friends and stuff like that. Got really good feedback from them. Nothing major, just lots of tweaks. And then June 16th, finished the launch trailer. It's not out yet, but it's finished. It's loaded. It's like ready to pop on all the days that it needs to pop on. And then on June 19th,
we don't expect the launch trailer to do anything. It's
mostly for the store.
It's just a much better looking trailer that encapsulates the game better, but it's not.
It's mostly for the store pages, because in theory, at launch is when Steam will actually start showing the game to people, which is funny, but also true. So that's the point at which it's much more possible that someone coming to the store page has no idea what the fuck they're getting into. Yeah. And so it would probably be better to have a little bit.
And again, that's the other thing we talked about previously, right? It's like in the lead up to all of this, we're the ones sending all traffic, which means that we already know the people coming in already have a sense of what they're getting into. Yeah. The details of the store page don't need to really convince them, right? They're just there to be like, oh, I want to go wish list this game. Yeah. But once you're showing the game to randos and trying to get Steam to show the game to people, then if those people arrive at your store page and they don't know anything else about the game, then you got to sell it. You got to sell it to them.
Yep. So June 19th, we passed final Steam verification, which means we are already technically launchable. There's a big button. There's a big button just sitting there looking at us that we could hit.
I think we're also launchable on Google Play, but not yet on iOS.
I think we're launchable across all. I mean, iOS. Anytime we make a build, you got to wait until it's true review. But we're essentially launchable on all the stuff because we've got like all the technical bits and bobs solved, right? So that brings us to today. We are T-minus 20 out from launch. Wish list, 228,000. Our daily wish listing rate has gone up from about 300 a day last week to about 1,100 yesterday. What looks like about 1,500 or 1,800 today.
Well, probably from a combo
ads.
We've had about a consistent 100 deletions per day, just basically since day one, like since the demo started.
And then we had 118K store page visits and 89,000 Google pre-registrations, which is very high. At least it seems like it's very high to us.
The 118,000 visits was on Google.
On Google Play.
On Google Play. And
importantly, though, so it's a 74% conversion rate to pre-registrations, but those people don't know that they're going to have to pay for the game. For some reason, Google doesn't show this. So these people probably think that they're getting the game for free, but they're not. And that's annoying that's the thing that we don't have control over, but that's just how.
Our guess is that's going to have an abysmal conversion rate when the launch actually happens.
Yeah, which you can kind of see because on the iOS side, we have 85K store page visits to that pre-orders page and 380 pre-orders.
So
'Cause
those
you
are
actually have
people
to
who
pay for
know
it.
that they're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So
these numbers mean kind of nothing, but they're interesting.
Yeah.
And then we also just posted some of these shorts, these new shorts that are cruising around 250,000 total views between the two of them. Game Maker's Toolkit just mentioned the game. It just happened to, so it was in no way coordinated. In their like 100 games that came from the GMTK Jam video that just came out. It's very cool. We had a large Chinese streamer randomly pick the game up on the 9th, which you can see in SteamDB. There's suddenly a spike from like our 100, 150 concurrents to 900.
Yes, if you look at the language breakdown for the demo, like who's playing the demo yesterday, it's like 55% Chinese players, right?
Yeah.
Just from that one streamer.
And then Tacticon began yesterday. And in that first day, we got about 40,000 impressions from the Tacticon sales page. It's supposed to be one of the better ones. It has the front page or like a pop-up on Steam and all that. And about 1,000 visits. That's pretty good. And we're in string lock. So we're done.
Yeah.
string lock meaning we're not changing any of the text in the game because it has to go through translation and there's no time.
And we're expecting to get that final batch of updated strings back on Tuesday next week, so that by the next day we can have our final build ready to go out for early views for press and stuff. So
yep. So early views for press and streamers and stuff like that for the highest priority ones go out starting the end of next week. And so
yeah, this week for you listening to it, since this comes out
tomorrow basically is when some of the press stuff starts going out. No one could talk about it supposedly until the 23rd. So we'll see what happens. But they will.
They can't. But they will.
And we'll hunt them down. And so that's the run up, okay, to what we've been doing for the last.
It's been a year, okay.
It's been a heck of a year.
Yeah, and I think an important like kind of idea here with all this, right, is what we've described as a as Sam said, like being less precious about it this time around, but absolutely no less serious, right? In the sense that we did everything, we've pulled every single lever, we're coordinating, and we didn't even this is just the surface level discussion of what we did, right? But all this required infinite discussions and debates between us, and then bringing in our third parties who help us out, like Recoup, our publishing partner, and Huqiao, our other publishing partner, right? So discussions all the time with everybody being like, is this a good idea? Is this a good idea? Let's try this anyway. Let's iterate on this. Like we're giving you the surface level view of all of that. And the way we're just make sure you understand that the takeaway here isn't just do whatever, right?
Correct.
The takeaway is be less precious about it in the sense that you do need to be doing stuff though. And if the thing that's holding you back from doing stuff is being precious about it, you gotta shed that.
Well, it's understanding your current place in the market, right? Where like if you have no attention on your game, nobody cares about it, nobody's waiting for it, which was our position when we started working on How Many Dudes. You're free to do a lot of experiments to try to gauge whether people will be interested in the game, to gauge what direction to take the development in, whether you should even continue working on the game.
Yeah, I would argue it's it's the single most important thing for you to be doing in the first few months of making a new game is actually as quickly as possible figure out if anybody actually fucking wants it.
Yeah, nail the concept and then get it out there somehow.
Yeah, and for indies in particular, it's like you get so wrapped up sometimes in like the making of the thing, but it's really important again to note that the pain of making a thing for like 5 years that nobody wants is far, far greater than just smothering your little idea when it clearly has no fucking legs. You know what I mean? Like
you'll kill your darlings.
Seriously kill them mercilessly, because it's way worse. Being on, having done this for a long time, it's way worse to spend a lot of time on something and have it just kind of tip over at the end. Even if it's the best thing you've ever made.
Yep. Yeah, which I mean, in our case, like everything that we make, we try to make it be the best thing we've ever made because we're trying to learn and grow each time. And it's the best in different ways, right? But we're always trying to push our skills and stuff. And even if you end up having to bail on a project after a couple months because it's just not really going to get any interest, you still have a lot of takeaways from that.
Yes,
for the next game, tools, skills, knowledge, all that. So, like I said at the beginning of the episode, our next episode is going to be listener questions. So whatever you want to know about
all that,
the development of How Many Dudes, tooling, other just like things that are maybe more in the weeds that we just kind of skipped over. And also bear in mind that we've got about 40 something episodes of this podcast that span the entire duration of the How Many Dudes dev cycle. So, you can always go back and poke around at some of those and see if maybe your question is answered there. But yeah, go ahead and drop those questions in the comments of this video on YouTube, or just go to podcast.bscotch.net where you can ask questions there as well. So that's all the time we have for this week. We'd like to thank our producers, Fat Bard and Sampa Acosta, for putting the podcast together. And thanks to our community moderators who keep our Discord running. To get more involved in the Butterscotch community, just go to podcast.bscotch.net, where we have links to the Discord, a way for you to donate to support the podcast, and links to the podcast archives. So thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.